Jade has been an interesting character ever since the first season. He was and still is the only person in the current story who has had visions of the mysterious symbol over and over. And that's not even getting into the other crazy shit he's been seeing, like the Boulder guy and the Civil War soldier guy. And I just rewatched a bit of season 1 and I saw this conversation between Jade and Tian Chen.
I grew up in France with my grandma. She died when I was 12. I had to come back to the States. I had to ride on the plane by myself. I didn't want to leave her alone. I was crying at the airport. This nice lady bought me a soda. I told her what was wrong. She said to me, "They come with you when you go." I guess what I'm just trying to say is, don't be sad and don't feel guilty. I'll come with you when you go.
And that conversation started to make me think, why did the writers include this into the story? It has to have a meaning, right? It has to have a meaning outside of being just a simple backstory because of how heavy it felt in that moment. And then I remembered this other scene that was by far one of the craziest things we've seen so far.
Okay. Do you remember the bracelet I made you?
The what?
The bracelet I made you after our first few dates. Remember you lost it at the hospital the night Julie was born. Turn around, look what's sitting there.
You're saying you found a bracelet that's similar to the one you
No,
gave
no,
me?
no, 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 it's not similar. That is the bracelet. Those are the laces from your father's boots.
No, those were generic rawhide laces, the same you'd find on any boot.
No. Look, this was an accident. I made this. I was so afraid I ruined it, but then when I gave it to you, you said
The accidents are the best part.
Yes. Why?
Because it makes it one of a kind.
Exactly.
How the hell did Tabitha's bracelet that Jim lost all the way back when Julie was born end up in Fromville? How is that possible? Did it teleport into Fromland from the hospital? Did Fromville make a duplicate from Tabitha's memories simply to manipulate her? Or did someone bring it into Fromland? And that brings me back to Jade's backstory. More specifically, the part where Jade talks about being comforted about his grandmother's death.
I had to ride on the plane by myself. I didn't want to leave her alone. I was crying at the airport. This nice lady bought me a soda. I told her what was wrong. She said to me, "They come with you when you go." I guess what I'm just trying to say is, don't be sad.
While it may seem like it was just a random kind-hearted woman comforting an obviously struggling boy who has to fly on a plane by himself, maybe it was her intention to do something or to take something from Jade. It could be that someone intentionally stole Tabitha's bracelet all the way back then and brought it to Fromland in order to somehow bind her and maybe even Jim to Fromland. For some reason that we don't understand just yet. It's interesting when you look at it from that perspective because when you think about Father Katri, he told us that he had a voice calling him and that voice led him into Fromland.
Get up, he'll be fine. That's what the father said. Next thing I knew, smashing his face as hard as I could. Next thing I remember, I was standing on a bridge holding that bottle in my hand. And it was the first time in my life that I heard the voice of God. He told me to get back in the car, that there was another path for me to follow. So I did. I got back in the car and I drove, and 2 hours later I was here.
Who was this voice? Was it the boy in white? Was it the jellyfish? Or was it something else? Father Katri was convinced that they were brought here for a reason beyond just being senselessly tortured by the ghoul demons. He even started considering that maybe their purpose is to be written in the 74th book of the Bible. I also want to point out, as of the ending of season 2, we know for a fact that the boy in white isn't opposed to manipulating people to get them to do whatever it is that he wants. And I don't know for sure what that is, but it could have been the boy in white who paved the path for Father Katri to come to Fromland for some reason. But when you start talking about the boy in white, you also got to talk about the scene where Bacta is in the bar with Jade and she tells Jade that the boy in white told her to go back, but she didn't listen. And now she's blaming herself for what happened to the people in the bus.
That boy, he said to me, turn around. He begged me. I didn't listen.
The way the boy in white spoke at the end of season 2 made it seem like this is part of his master plan to achieve some goal I'm assuming he means making a way to finally end whatever Fromland is. And I'm saying that because he sounded very remorseful when he pushed Tabitha out of the window. And yeah, that's a crazy sentence, but yeah, he did sound remorseful. It's hard to say if this entire thing is the jellyfish fighting the boy in white, or if there's even more entities and maybe all of them are trying to be the top dog. I don't know. When you have that scene with something laughing at Boyd and saying that Boyd freed it and that it wants to hurt people, and then you have the scene with another being talking to Jade and encouraging him to go into the caves where he finds out that the symbol and the children are connected, it makes it almost impossible to say if it's just one entity playing 4D chess and manipulating the fuck out of everybody, or if it's just two entities fighting each other, or even an infinite amount of them. We don't have enough information, but we know for a fact that something has been calling people into Fromland because of Father Catherine's backstory, and maybe something similar happened to Tabitha as well, because her bracelet somehow wound up in Fromland. Almost like something was scouting her out in the real world and brought something back that would tether her to Fromland. And if specific people are being summoned to Fromland, does that mean that the people who came with them are just very, very unlucky victims? Like the people in the bus, for example, it would mean that most of them came to Fromland just because they had the horrible luck to be on the bus with someone who was intended to come here, probably Marielle. And it's pretty crazy to think about stuff like that. I also want to point out that the voices told Sarah to kill Toby for some reason, but they didn't tell her to kill Jade. So that's interesting, which makes you wonder, why did they specifically want Toby out of the way as soon as possible? And the fact that they had her do it herself, despite telling her to open the door and to remove the talisman afterwards, always made me raise my eyebrows. Like, why? Why did they tell her to do that? Toby also had very cryptic last words that maybe mean he knew a lot more than we could ever think. So they had to kill him before he could pass that information to the other people.
Where are we? Is everyone okay?
I don't think so.
I shouldn't have been. Shh. Fuck. Why is
This isn't your fault.
What do you mean?
We could have been a good couple. We could have had something special. But you one crazy ass bitch.